Tanzania has a long and proud history of providing safe haven to people fleeing war, violence and persecution. For decades, Tanzania has been hosting refugees, predominantly from Burundi, DRC and Rwanda. Today, 3 camps in northwestern Tanzania are currently hosting more than 313,000 refugees and asylum seekers, including more than 242,000 Burundian refugees and asylum seekers who have fled to Tanzania since 2015. Significant number of new arrivals continue to flee to the country, with 44,487 having arrived in the first 5 months of 2017 alone. Tanzania has been an exemplary leader, not only in sheltering and assisting refugees, but also in finding comprehensive solutions that allow them to have a meaningful chance of building a dignified life. In 2014, Tanzania made the unprecedented and historic offer to provide citizenship to over 162,000 former Burundian refugees who fled to Tanzania in 1972, providing them with safety, long-term security and the chance to dream for a brighter future. Further demonstrating the commitment to refugees, Tanzania has stepped forward as a pilot country for the development of the Comprehensive Refugees Response Framework, a game-changing commitment from 193 states as part of the New York Declaration, to develop a holistic, sustainable approach to refugee response that looks to strengthen the protection and rights of refugees, support the greater inclusion of refugees in society, and foster development opportunities for refugees and their host communities.
All human beings are born equal, and therefore they deserve the right to life, security, and the life to pursue livelihood undertakings. We have a duty as a government to ensure that our brothers and sisters who flee persecutions are given opportunity to live a decent and humane life. Refugees can be very productive if they are given the opportunity. CRRF coming into interplay, it is the hope of the government that the international community through the various financial institutions will help the government of Tanzania at least to help the host communities who have been so generous over the years in hosting refugees.
Host communities in northwestern Tanzania continue to show generosity and kindness to refugees. People in the Kigoma region continue to welcome refugees with open arms, despite being affected by repeated cycles of refugee influxes.
Nchi ya Tanzania imekuwa ikipokea wakimbizi kwa muda mrefu hata kabla ya uhuru. Kwa hiyo ni kitu ambacho kimezoeleka. Kwa hiyo jamii inayozunguka wakimbizi na mkoa kwa ujumla inawachukulia wakimbizi kama ndugu.
Sisi wakazi wa Kigoma au wakimbizi sisi tuna matatizo nao, tutawasaidia kimavazi, chakula, kwa sababu wao wana matatizo yao huko wanakotoka, hawajatoka kwa hali ya amani.
Kwa sababu hawa watu kama tulivyo sisi kwenye nchi yetu wanahitaji hifadhi, na tunashukuru Mungu kwamba tumepewa nafasi ya kuwahifadhi katika mkoa wetu. Mimi sio tatizo lolote. Ili tu waingie katika mazingira yetu, wafanye kazi kwa bidii, tulime pamoja, tufanye kazi kwa juhudi zote, chakula kipatikane. Kubwa ni amani, lakini pia kikubwa ni kufanya kazi ili tusife na njaa. Au unaona? Kabisa.
One of the key objectives of the CRRF is to adopt a whole of society approach that brings in new allies and partners to the refugee response. From the private sector, Airtel are pioneering a new program that gives refugees money on an electric tap-tap cash cards in place of food rations to give them greater freedom on what they eat, while also providing a boost to the local economy.
We know that we can't really fill the gap that these refugees are going through, but we believe with the tap-tap card, they can buy their different needs, day-to-day needs, such simple needs such as sugar, water and other stuff that are provided within the camp. And what we have done as Airtel is with these tap-tap cards, we've enabled an infrastructure within the camp where people can walk into shops and buy their needs.
The student group from International School of Tanganyika have been working to help provide clothes, toys and medicines to refugee children in Nyarugusu camp.
So my project has been going on for 5 months, and first we collected 15 boxes of clothing, medication, shoes, and toys. And then after that, when it was distributed, we managed to get clothes for 150 refugees, as well as medication and shoes. And now we've also collected 21 boxes, which will be distributed at the end of the month. I stand with refugees because I feel that everyone in the world should be treated the same way and should be given equal opportunities and equal rights. It does not matter where you come from or what situation you've been in.
It's good to understand that refugees are ordinary people just like you and me. They are human beings, they have their values and dignities. What differentiates us between them and us is that they have been forced to flee their countries due to several circumstances.
We are supposed to develop them so that they can be benefit for our country and the country which they are going to be hosted. So I stand together with refugees. I welcome you all to participate in this.
At the heart of supporting refugees in Tanzania are the UN agencies, international and national NGOs, working on the front lines of the humanitarian response. Together, the humanitarian response provides refugees with critical, life-saving aid and key basic services, including food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education.
About half a dozen UN agencies under the leadership of UNHCR that plays a lead role in ensuring that refugees are received, refugees are hosted in the camps, refugees receive shelter, food, education, and anything that ensures that they can live a life of dignity inside the camps.
The WFP, along with the government of Tanzania and UNHCR, is responsible for all of the feeding and nutrition programs in the camps. So we're currently feeding in excess of 310,000 refugees. We are ready to step up further if necessary, if there are new arrivals. We're providing them a basic food basket of commodities, meeting their basic nutritional requirements. One of the big changes that we are introducing presently is the introduction of cash transfers to the refugees. We're removing a number of the commodities from the food basket and replacing it with the equivalent in cash. The benefits of this are enormous. First and foremost, the refugees for the first time have to choose the types of commodities that they buy and consume. The multiplier effect, the impact that this would have on the local economy, is one of the most exciting things that I think will have happened into the Kigoma region in a very long time.
We're currently providing child protection services to 80,000 children. We promote girls' education at secondary school level. We also provide vocational training opportunities and skills training to young people, and also provide them with startup kits for businesses that they can operate in the camps. And I hear stories every day from mothers, from fathers, from children. Their hope is to live like ordinary people. There's a great opportunity here for surrounding communities to really benefit from hosting refugees, not only economically, but also socially as well.
Julius Kambarage Nyerere brought up this nation to realize that the borders that separates between one country and another is not important. What is important is that we are all Africans. Most of them come with a lot of skills and talents. I've met with quite a number of refugees, some of them who are engineers, some of them who are teachers, some of them have different business skills. So if these skills can be harnessed, I'm sure they can contribute a lot towards the growth of Tanzanian economy.
Refugees can only become burden when we don't empower them and give them the freedom to be employed and move around.
At the end of 2016, we were able to implement a pilot program on LPG. Under the LPG program, refugees actually are being assisted with an alternative cooking energy, that is gas. With the LPG program, refugees actually are getting more time now to do other activities instead of wasting much time in search of firewood.
In Nyarugusu, refugees and host communities have come together at a common marketplace with the support of Good Neighbors Tanzania. Refugee and Tanzanian entrepreneurs engage in a bustling trade, a prime example of how allowing refugees freedom to engage in economic activity allows them to utilize their skills and talents and make positive contributions to their local economies.
Host communities, but also with the refugees, they both depend upon each other a lot because of the market here, where the refugees buy goods from the host communities who are outside the camp, but also the host communities, they have the huge consumer here in Yaru's camp, where it hosts more than 130,000 refugees in the market. The three communities are together as one. Whether they are from Congo, whether they are from Burundi, whether they are from Tanzania, they all come as our beneficiaries.
However, the response continues to face significant challenges as a result of severe underfunding. To date, the response to the Burundi refugee situation in Tanzania for 2017 has received just 6% of the $217 million it needs. This makes the support of donor countries critical to the ongoing protection and well-being of refugees in Tanzania.
I've been to the camps 4 times in the 3 years that I've been in Tanzania, and I don't think you can ever fully understand the reality of a refugee's life until you've spoken to people who have just arrived. And I remember the first time I spoke to some newly arrived Burundian refugees. I spoke to some at the border and then also some who had newly arrived at Nduta camp. And I was truly shocked by the experiences they had to undergo, how they had to hide, mothers with very young children had to hide in plantations to avoid the militias, how they've had to, just the journeys they've had to make just to escape Burundi and to reach Tanzania. Refugees can be a resource for a country. My mother fled civil war in Sri Lanka in the 1970s and sought safe haven in the UK. She was an asylum seeker at first, she was granted refugee status, and I was born the son of a refugee in the UK. My mother's now been naturalised as a British citizen in the same way that many Burundians have been naturalised as Tanzanians now. So I grew up incredibly grateful to the United Kingdom for the opportunities that it gave me in its country. And I promised to myself that I would give back to the United Kingdom for what I got from it. So that's why I chose a life in public service. It's why I've committed my career to being a civil servant in the UK system. And as a result, that's why I'm here. So I genuinely believe refugees can be a force for good in the world, can really benefit host countries and can, in a way, the loyalty that they will generate and the gratitude they will have for the country that's hosted them will pay back dividends to that country.
We support refugees because I think Canadians believe strongly that refugees are often victims of circumstances. They recognize that history can sometimes sweep people along with them, and they have very little control over that. Many thousands, if not millions of Canadians have lived as refugees abroad before coming to Canada, and they make up the fabric of our society. We've also learned what an incredible resource refugees can be to the host nation.
We look at refugees not as statistics. If somebody says to you there's a million refugees, that's a statistic. But once you think of those people, they're all individuals, they're all families, they're all their mothers, their sisters, their grandparents, they're people who are going through everyday struggles like we all are. And therefore we should be helping them now in this time of when they are facing a crisis.
The government of Japan thinks the refugee issues is one of the most important and the biggest challenge the global community now facing. Have to think about how to decrease and lessen the burden of local government of the host community. And at the same time, we have to think about in the long term perspective.
What we hope to see is a more productive refugee population. Many of these people, of course, have skills that also are required in this country, but many of these people also have the capacity to secure their own living. And in that sense, as we do now in Europe, we should also look at refugees as an opportunity, not just as a burden. It's also an opportunity.
Refugees do not choose to be refugees on their own. And they are just ordinary people like you and me. And they're all looking for a safe environment where they can build their life again. And I'm proud to see that Tanzania, your former president, Nyerere, actually showed the way in the early 70s. He took care of the Burundis that came after 72, and they were settled in settlements. They got 10 acres of land. Many of them have been able to look after themselves. The government of Denmark stands with the refugees because they're ordinary people that deserves our support. I'm glad to see Tanzania opening its borders and receiving refugees, so we must work closely together on helping these refugees in need.
Walivyokuja kunichukua tulikuwa ndani ya duka. Wakaja sasa kuchukua tena, namwomba mume wako sasa aje kwanza tuongee naye. Ndio niliwapoteza mume wangu na mtoto ambaye niita Zawadi, wakapotea kabisa. Hadi sasa wakaja kuniambia mume wako kabisa amechinjwa. Na mtoto nilishuhudia kuona maiti ya mtoto wangu kwa miaka 9. Kuona tena ni kukaa nchi ya Kongo, hapana, siwezi nikakaa. Na ndio maana mimi nilikimbia hadi hapa, nikakimbia Lugufu hadi gisi nilivyofika hapa Nyarugusu. Nashukuru kwa sababu shirika kama vile naniyo ni siara, kama vile mama, kama vile baba, kwa maana hiyo naridhika na hapa ninavyokaa kwa sababu nina usalama wangu. Tanzania is a long-standing country of asylum. Tanzania has a really long history. Its generosity, its place in the region, and I think even globally, as a country that has been extremely welcoming, extremely generous to refugees. And so the Tanzanian government is in the process of reviewing its national refugee law, more or less to make it adaptable to the current refugee situations, the current crises as they unfold. People think that refugees leave their homes because they want to. They don't. They are under threat. Their own governments are unable to protect them, and this is why refugees then require what we call international protection. International protection is simply just the right to live a safe life, safe and dignified life. So they flee because they're forced to. Their lives are under threat. And yes, even the right to seek asylum is a universal human right. There's a recognition that there is need to support the host communities that live side by side with refugees, because inevitably there are implications on local, national institutions when there are huge populations that are being assisted by any one country. So it's a recognition that it's no one country's responsibility alone. There needs to be a global solidarity to protect and provide assistance to refugees. It's a recognition that we cannot do things the same way that we've done them always. The unprecedented numbers of people on the move today, just the challenges of the magnitude of the numbers requires an out-of-the-box approach, let me put it that way. So 193 member states of the United Nations General Assembly came together and recognized that there is a need to provide support not just to refugees, but to the host communities as well, because inevitably these communities are living side by side. So it's not looking at a refugee response purely from a humanitarian perspective, but also from a development perspective, recognizing the fact that these communities live side by side. Refugees need to be integrated within the national systems. You cannot have a response for refugees and a response for nationals. It's better to provide it together. UNHCR Tanzania stands together with refugees. Please stand with us. Thank you for your support.
Please stand with us.